appreciate and had the honor of talking to Keith Shannon again for a couple of hours the other night. And, I asked him, he watches my videos, and he asked if he could offer advice. And I said, oh, yeah, I really want the advice. I want to do better. I've only been doing this since December. And he said a couple of things that he saw when I fire hardened the bow that broke, that the color was good. I had good color on it. But the one thing, when I've been fire hardening these bows that I didn't know I should do is, after you fire harden them and they're on that form and they cool down, like a half hour after they cool, you get a wet rag. A wet rag, and wipe the bow with the wet rag, okay? And then leave it, and the next day, don't tiller it unless it's got like 6% moisture. So in the garage, I have staves for my friend Jack's wife. I have staves for my friend Jimmy, and a stave for Duran, and I have an extra one or two that came from my friend Chris, shorter ones. So what I did yesterday was I took from the original tree that me and Jack got from his neighbor. There was one big stave, wide, that I didn't know what to do with. It had such a big twist. It was really a really twisted up tree, and I didn't even know if I can get a short bow out of it. And I tackled it the other day, and I made a nice straight bow. I heated it up with a heat gun, and got it to conform to the trailer. I used the trailer, and I clamped it down. So then I talked to him on the phone, and he told me about wetting it, and then checking the moisture the next day, and it should be around 6%. So sure enough, I tested the moisture, and it was 0 from the heat treating, just with the heat gun. I wiped it down with a wet cloth, and this morning it was 6%. It's a key part that I've been missing on fire hardening was, after a half an hour you fire harden these bows. You use a wet cloth, you wet it, and that helps the moisture that's there will absorb. Now the fire hardening it kind of makes the bow waterproof and the cells stronger. But once it acclimates to the temperature, and once it acclimates to the humidity in a room, it's usually, like he said, and he was right on the money, around 6%. And that's what it was this morning, 6%. The other thing he told me was when he looked at my jig, he says it had kind of a abrupt bend. And I said, yeah, well, how I made the jig was I followed somebody on YouTube, and this is a big flat spot here, right? This is a big flat spot here, and then they tapered it down. That's how I followed from somebody on YouTube. Well, he said rebend it, and this way you have a nice arc, and it's not flat and then an abrupt. It'll bend. So that's what I'm going to work on today, is to reshape this to have a little better bend, where it isn't flat and abrupt, so there's less stress on the limbs. A couple other things was we'll go back to the fire hardening. You put your hand right underneath the limb, and you should be able to count 1, 2, 3. And when you say 3, it should be that hot that you can't really stand it, all right? But you don't get burnt, You got to have common sense. 1, 2, 3. And if you see I added coals on some of them, and what I have to do is I have to wait till the coals, catch. You have it a little higher, even have it catch, and then do that 1, 2, 3. Because you see on the last video, I went 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, So the idea is to get it. If you're going to do this tillering and heat and fire hardening, you want everything perfect, okay? Don't settle. You want everything perfect. So I got to get it where I have that stick and I knock around the coals, and I get it where when I put it underneath, I go 1, 2, and I'll actually say 3, and that's the point where I can't stand it. Okay, it's got to go higher or lower. And I made sure I got the fade outs browned, and he said I did a good job with that. But the reason why the bow probably blew apart that hop hornbeam was a couple of reasons. One's I didn't put moisture back when I tested it. I did test it in the morning. There was still 0 in the limbs, and that was no good. All right. Now, at some point, I have 3 bows to make for other people, with other people, and I'm going to try and do it, trying to do it right. But I'll give that hop hornbeam another shot, and after I heat treat it, then I'm going to put a wet rag on it, wet it, and then let it acclimate overnight, and then check the moisture content. But he was spot on with that 6%, okay, from 0 to 6% this morning. So I just want to talk about that. I just want to talk about my tillering too. I didn't understand what he meant when he told me in one of our conversations, make sure you get it straight first. Make sure you get the bow straight first before you start tillering. And I figured, well, what does he mean by that? I didn't understand what he meant by that. So when we make the bow, when we got that bow, the limbs are 5/8 even, all right? We try to make them even perfect. If it's 5/8, it's got to be, not try, if it's 5/8, it's going to be 5/8, okay? If you go less, whatever it is, it's got to be that across. If it was a 1/2 inch, let's say, it's got to be that across to start. Then you fire harden it, and then the wood shrinks and everything changes. You'll have to tiller it. But when you put it on that tillering stick with a string and you pull it down, okay, you'll have back set. It'll be up. And all you do is just pull it down until it's level, all right? Once it's level, you look at it. Make sure that one's not higher than the other. But what he told me was I can go down 2 inches. I can initially go down 2 inches and then look at the bends. Mark where the fade out is, where the fade out goes to the limb, mark it on each side to the tip, and then measure the distance from there to the tip and the center point, measure the center point. All right, so after that initial 2 inches of going down, use that yardstick to make a mirror image. Take off material. Don't go until it's perfect. So that micro tillering can't be rushed, and it's got to be perfect. All right, that's the goal, to make everything perfect no matter how long it takes. And once you get that perfect, then you go down 1 inch at a time and recheck it and make it perfect. So those are some of the things I learned that I'm going to incorporate into my next videos. But I just thought I'd mention this quickly. My conversation with Shannon and some of the things that I've been doing wrong. Okay, so if you watch my videos and you're doing like I'm doing, you could correct them. Okay, so that's it. So watch my future videos. There'll be a couple of friends bow builds there, and I'm going to try to make perfect bows. Not try, I'm going to make perfect bows. That's the attitude, all right? Everything has to be perfect. So try to make a perfect everything, perfect bow. Okay, I modified my back set jig. Okay, I reshaped it so there's no more flat spot right after that. I have like a 8.5 inch flat spot on the top because I make bows with handles. I don't really use the D shape. But what Keith said is he just uses a D shape and mounts it to that. Just that D shape. He gets a bend, like a pipe bend or whatever you're going to use, and just use that D shape. And this particular one has a little more back set. It's like 4 inches back set it'll be. And he said, that's like, you don't want more than that, less actually. I think he mentioned less back set than that, but just so I can use this one again, that was the shape I got without cutting through the end holes for the clamps. Is 4 inches of back set, and it's gradual. Right from the riser out, it's starting gradual. There's no really flat and then aggressive turns. It's a gradual, smooth shape. All right, so we're going to use this from now on, and we'll see how it works out. These clamps I use to hang my backset jig on my wooden stanchions there are 10 by 10, and I cut one side to 4 3/4, okay, shorter, so you're able to manipulate it without having this big tail get in the way, okay? So if you see over there, I got the one screwed on, and I'm going to put this one on. And whenever you're going to put these on, make sure they overhang enough, okay? So they're hanging off the edge a few inches, and use a small drill for a pilot hole so you don't split the wood. All right, whenever I drill into something like this, I'm going to bolt something on, use a pilot hole so you don't split the wood. Okay, it's all clamped up and ready to go. If you look at the ends are even with the rail. I just have it balanced there. When I put this on that rail to see the height, it came out to 4 inches. There's 4 inches of backset from the bottom of the riser handle, okay, which is, you don't want to go more than that from what I understand, okay. There's a couple other things is when you fire harden it, just to review, you want to go low and slow, and the height is, you put your hand, what he told me was, put your hand right under the limb, palm up, like right under, not an inch under, 2 inches. You want all this to be perfect. It just seems to work. Put it under, and 1, 2, 3, 4 is too much. You should be able to put it in 1, 2, 3, and that's it, okay? So that's what you have to work around, all right? The perfection of this here. And there's no time for cooking. It's cook it till it's brown, all right? Watch it and cook it till it's brown, all right? I hope what he told me will reflect on my next build, and I figured I'd share with you in case you're going to do a build before I do. Key things were I never wiped these, after I fire harden them, I never wiped them down with the wet rag. And that seems to be key, okay? That's a key point. And the tillering process, I jumped ahead. I was so fast, huge leaps. And you're really supposed to go down only like an inch at a time. And if you go down an inch at a time and perfect it, sometimes you could go down a couple of inches and it'll be okay. But at the initial start, you know, when he said level, make the bow level, I didn't understand what he meant. But what it was when you put it on that pull down, when you put it on the tillering stick with a longer string and you hook it on, you want both limbs to be level, not one up or one low. And what he told me was, if you want, you can go down to 2 inches and start at that point. And I said, okay, that's more, I think that would fit me better with my bows, with the handles and everything else. Go down 2 inches and then start, and then an inch after that. Okay, I just want to show you the moisture check here. This is a twisted stave that I thought maybe I'd make a youth bow, but I squeezed an adult bow out of it. It twisted, it was really twisted. I used a heat gun to straighten it out, and this here is the same tree. All right, it's 6.8, the moisture content of this, okay, and it's been sitting for a couple of weeks in the garage, maybe a month now or so, maybe 2 months. So anyway, when I heat treated this and I went inside with it, it was 0. And then after talking to Keith Shannon, I took a wet rag and I wiped it down. You know, a wet rag, wiped it down, and then I sat it overnight. See if you can see this here. See? 6.5. The handle's 8. 6.1. Okay, so the bottom line is he's right on the money again, as usual, from his experience and hundreds of bows doing this, after you, I guess even now heat treating, because this was heat treating straightened out with 0% moisture. Okay, I wiped it down, and he says it should be the next, before you, before you tiller it even, okay, but we got to fire harden this. Well, before you tiller it, it should be around 6%. And wiping down the rag, he was right on the money. That's what we got with this, okay? So the things I'm learning from him is, I don't know if he says, oh, you would eventually learn these things on your own trial and error. I says, no, there's no way. It's leaps and bounds. He's teaching me a big jump ahead of the learning curve. I'm 65, all right, and he's really helping me out, so I can get this correct. And he's doing like what I do when I teach traditional archery. I've been shooting bows since I was a kid, not well as a kid, to becoming a coach for the JOAD, for helping out over the years, teaching I don't know how many people traditional archery. It's my passion. I don't do it for money. I do it because I like to share my passion and share the sport. I created a lot of traditional monsters who never shot a bow before, and after they got a lesson, they left my house with a big smile, shooting out to at least 20 yards. So a lot of them 25 yards, okay, so they can shoot a 3D competition. And that's what he does. He's allowing me to share his information, pass his knowledge down. And when I'm making mistakes, I've got to follow him. I want to make the perfect bow like he does. So I'm trying to emulate the master's work, okay? And we're doing. I'm grateful for every time he talks to me. So hopefully in the future, if he watches some more of my videos and sees a couple more things I'm doing that could be better or incorrectly, hopefully he'll reach out to me. And he told me I could call him. And we'll get it straight, all right? But I want you to be hooked on to making bows like I was hooked on to teaching people with traditional archery, and now I'm hooked on making bows myself. I want to pass this on to you, where when you make your first bow, you learn from my mistakes, and you're going to go, wow, I got a bow that shoots. And there's a difference between making a plain bow that shoots, just shoots, and a perfect bow that's tilled properly, fire hardened properly. You get more feet per second. You got more of a performance. You don't have that much back set, right, if you make the right length. And the other thing, key point too, when you're making a bow, double your draw length plus whatever size your riser is, and add 2 inches. And that's your minimum. You could go longer, but that's your minimum, okay? Double your draw length, whatever your riser is, you're going to make length, and add 2 inches. Great information. I can't thank him enough for all the help he's been for me. So once again, go buy that fire hardening video, okay, that Keith Shannon had made with Dad Beckham, and you'll learn a lot. And the fact that you can make bows with whitewoods that are in your neighborhood, your backyard, woodlot, get permission to cut down a tree, clean it up, make the rest of firewood for the guy, do a nice job. And make some 6-foot staves, come home, split them, and fire harden them, make bows, and you won't get ripped off no more by these people selling these crooked, rotten staves, okay? So that's all. I'm grateful, and watch my other videos. Buy his video, his DVD, buy his DVD, okay? It's really worth buying and watching. Thanks for watching.